Elzine walked confidently into the classroom, her golden hair swaying with each step. She stopped in front of the students, gently smoothing her voluminous hair. "This geez, teacher," she muttered, "making us practice things I haven't even heard of all semester." Rian rested their chin on their hand, lost in thought. Elzine approached and asked, "How did it go? How did you do on the test, Rian?" Rian looked up and replied, "Get up quickly and go downstairs. You'll get in trouble if the teacher sees you." Elzine exclaimed in surprise and teased, "Oh, even the great Rian is afraid of the teacher?" Rian seemed annoyed and said, "I don't want to deal with any more stress, especially with this test hanging over my head." He glanced at Elzine and asked, "And why did you switch seats?" Elzine shrugged and replied, "I was just wondering, maybe to comfort a friend who is sad." Rian frowned. "Since when do I need comforting?" Elzine smirked. "That's right. You have nothing left to lose anyway." Elzine sighed in relief. "Consider it very lucky to be at the very bottom, right?" Rian frowned slightly, his amber eyes flashing with annoyance. He muttered, "Didn't I already open a map a month ago?" Elzine stood facing him, giggling softly. If anyone else heard that, they'd definitely be furious. She paused slightly, her eyes becoming more serious, and continued, "But you're different." Beads of sweat dotted Rian's forehead as he swung the heavy wooden sword. Elzine mused. He never showed any fear, no matter the circumstances. The image of Rian diligently training in the harshest conditions flashed through Elzine's mind. A first-year cadet enduring the harshest training. Elzine wondered, why would someone like him be in last place? She looked directly into Rian's eyes and asked, "Do you remember?" A hint of reminiscence flickered in Elzine's gaze. "When we were freshmen, you were at the top of the class." Rian joined the Kaizen Swordsmanship Academy at the top of his class 6 months ago, winter. Kaizen Academy of Swordsmanship appeared magnificent and splendid. Throughout its 200-year history, this place has trained 10 officially ranked first-class swordsmen. And among them, there was even one bearing the title Greatest Swordsman, a person with an iron will and courage, and one of the most prestigious knights. Each year, countless aspiring knights eager to make their mark on history, over 300 gather each semester. However, the majority of the 30-plus candidates who passed the exam could not commit to the 1-month probationary period and were eliminated. In another development, a burly young man with a darkened face is struggling to get up. All around him, cheers ring out, "Come on, come on." That was a training session for the swordsman as Richard Feiger gritted his teeth, clutched the person's hair below, and growled, "Faster. Is that all you've got?" The muscle-building scene was completely different from what we knew at the Magic Academy. A group of people were crawling on the floor pretending to be horses, their shouts echoing, "Faster, Dosen." Another voice rang out, "It all depends on you. Don't screw it up now." A student shouted, "Hey, everyone who hasn't bet yet, hurry up and place your bets." Group 1 Schema consists of those with the mental energy to improve their swordsmanship. The trainees started placing bets on the horse race. Schema stammered, "Me too." Then, "I'll bet 10 silvers. Those who haven't learned Schema but possess superior physical abilities are in Group 2. Those who achieve nothing and are forced to participate due to parental interference are placed in Group 3. Heavy gasps echoed. A voice rang out, "What's wrong with him, anyway?" After training ended, another voice rang out, warning, "Quiet down, or you'll be considered horses." Elzine belonged to Group 1, standing upright, with a cold face. Next is a close-up of a hand with scars, blood splattered on the wooden floor. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Those who we can't trust to cover our backs on the battlefield are not comrades, but nothing more than leftovers. Richard growled menacingly, "Come on." Richard continued, his voice full of excitement, "All right, this time I'll be the first one." Suddenly, a loud noise erupted. Rian appeared, delivering a devastating kick. Richard was kicked away. The others peeked through the crack in the door with fear. Rian said coldly, "That's enough, you idiot." Rian stood up straight, looked down at Richard, and said in a low, strained voice, "This isn't a playground." Rian stood tall, his body well built. He was in Group 2, the group with outstanding physical strength. Instantly, Feiger lunged at Rian, snarling, "You crazy bastard." Feiger's eyes blazed, his fist clenched, teeth grinding. "I'm going to kill you." From another angle, Elzine watched the short-haired girl commenting softly, "That, Rian." It seems like something finally happened. Elzine, surprised, asked, "Oh, you know his name?" Elzine explained, "Feiger collected money from the second group of students on the occasion of his birthday." Elzine mused, "So he must be very strong." The short-haired girl shrugged. "Not at all. He's actually quite weak," she continued, "but he's the only one who refused." Elzine worried, "So he's been noticed by Group 1? The other person nodded. That's right. Returning to the tense confrontation, Feiger gritted his teeth, glaring resentfully at Rian. Rian looked directly into the other person's eyes and said coldly, "Let's take this outside." Rian frowned, his voice a little worried. "Feiger, if this gets to the lecturer, our grades will be in trouble." Feiger laughed loudly, a resounding ha-ha that drowned out Ryan's words. He nodded, his face full of confidence, and said one word, "Okay." Immediately after, Feiger turned abruptly, faced the crowd behind him, and ordered loudly, "You guys, follow me." Some trainees, looking somewhat reluctant, slowly followed Feiger. Suddenly, Feiger turned to a group of people huddling together, pointed directly at them, and said through gritted teeth, "Group 3. Feiger looked directly into each person's eyes, his gaze flashing with cruelty. He declared, his voice full of threat, "I'll show you what happens if you dare touch me." Feiger stopped in front of Rian, looked at Rian and the others, and said in a condescending tone, "Hey, you small fries." Next, Feiger crossed his arms, a confident look on his face, and said, his voice full of challenge, "I'm giving you guys a chance." Feiger pointed ahead, where a group of people stood trembling, and shouted, "Charge at them, or you'll regret it." After that, Feiger burst out laughing, a savage laugh echoing through the space. How pathetic. Feiger looked directly at the group of people in front of him, his voice full of sarcasm and self-satisfaction. "Not even one person is on your side? What do you think you can do?" Ryan stood there, his back to Feiger, and said in a low voice, "What am I supposed to do? I don't understand what you're asking." Feiger smirked, his face full of challenge. Ryan continued, "Do you only fight when you have the advantage?" Rian clenched his fist, his eyes firm. "I fight because I must. It's what a knight should do." Ryan turned to face Feiger, his eyes filled with contempt. "Someone like you has no right to be a knight." Feiger burst into loud laughter, revealing his gleaming white teeth. "Ha!" Feiger gritted his teeth, anger plain on his face. "Fine, I'll duel you like a knight." Feiger growled, veins bulging on his muscular arm. "Let's begin." Feiger smirked confidently, his eyes flashing with amusement at his opponent's vulnerability. "I will give you a chance," he declared, his tone full of arrogance, "and I'll even let you strike the first blow." Instantly, Ryan charged forward, power surging with every stride. He poured all his strength into his fist, determined to deliver a fatal blow. But Feiger didn't flinch. He threw a counterpunch, its incredible force causing the surrounding air to tremble. Rian took the full force of the punch, his body thrown backward. Feiger smirked, his eyes looking at Ryan with contempt. "Fool, why would I let you hit me?" Rian writhed on the ground, a soft groan escaping his lips. "Gah!" Rian's breath quickened as he struggled to stand. "This is," he muttered, his eyes fixed on his hand, "the power of Schema?" Feiger threw a series of punches at Rian, but his opponent didn't fall. He was shocked and muttered, "What? Why won't you fall?" Immediately afterward, a burst of fiery red power exploded, engulfing both of them. Feiger continued to punch Rian relentlessly. Suddenly, Ryan darted forward like lightning. Feiger, startled, realized his carelessness and thought to himself, "Have I been too careless?" Rian gritted his teeth, his eyes flashing with anger. A powerful punch landed, and Feiger cried out, "Ow!" Feiger groaned, clearly feeling the opponent's terrifying power. He was secretly terrified. "What is this power?" Feiger gritted his teeth, enraged. "Damn it, are you kidding me?" From afar, the other trainees are witnessing the match. His fingers trembled as he realized in despair. "He didn't even use a schema, and I still can't take him down." Feiger roared in frustration, "Don't you dare!" and put all his strength into delivering a blow. Feiger growled and roared furiously, "How dare you!" Immediately, a brutal blow landed. Rian took the full force of the attack, blood splattering everywhere. Feiger hissed, his voice full of hatred, "Die, die." Blood splattered everywhere. Feiger continued to attack with the most vicious blows. Feiger roared in a frenzy, "Die." Witnessing the horrifying scene, the students cried out in panic, "Feiger, stop." Another person urged, their voice trembling, "Hey, hurry up and stop him." From afar, the others watched in horror. Is he really going to kill someone? Feiger struggled, trying to break free from the encirclement. "Let go, I'll kill him." Blood dripped from Ryan's blue hair, which was speckled with mud. He was tied upside down to a tree trunk, his head pointing towards the ground. "Ha ha ha." From the crowd below, a mocking voice rang out. "He looks like nothing more than a worm on a hook." Another voice chimed in, full of disdain. What kind of mischief could a weakling like him possibly make, acting all high and mighty? What the hell was he thinking? Elzine stood with her arms crossed, looking displeased. Regardless, This has gone too far. She frowned, her voice cold. Humiliating a defeated opponent. Perhaps that's something he'll never recover from. Rian hung in the air, blood streaming down his face, and he struggled to open his eyes to look down at the crowd. He whispered, "I'm sorry." Rian's eyes stopped on Elzine. He mumbled, "I didn't expect to be seen like this by a young lady." Mocking laughter erupted from the crowd. A young man pointed forward, his face amused. "Ha! What's he doing?" The person next to him chimed in with a sarcastic tone. "Is he trying to show off?" From the crowd, another voice rose, full of disdain. "What the hell? So he's just an idiot after all." Rian was tied upside down to a tree branch, suspended in midair. His face was covered in bruises and blood, but his eyes still shone with determination. A guy in the crowd continued to jeer, his voice full of malice. "Does he think acting tough when he's weak will make people think he's someone?" Another voice interjected sarcastically, emphasizing each word. "All he's doing is making a fool of himself." Rian looked up at the sky, his eyes half closed, and muttered, "It's okay, I don't care." Taking a deep breath, Rian told himself, "I'll forget about this soon." Rian said, "I fought my best for what I believe was right, so I have no shame." Rian continued, his voice trailing off as if to reassure himself. "Once enough time has passed, I won't even remember this humiliation." Hearing this, the group of trainees fell silent, not daring to cheer anymore. But never mind. Opening his eyes, Rian looked straight at the crowd before him, his gaze unwavering. "What about you?" Rian remained hanging from the tree branch, covered in dirt, with blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were fixed on the student standing trembling in the distance. His voice, thick with hoarseness, rang out, "For those who enter this school with the aspiration to become knights, all of you only know how to run away without daring to fight." Rian forced himself up, a small stream of blood running down his arm. He gritted his teeth and continued, "That will haunt you forever. Your school years, a cowardly phase in your lives, when you couldn't even utter a word because of fear." Rian's eyes blazed. "But you will never be able to reclaim your past," he growled. "I can lose 100 times over, because I fight for my beliefs." Rian's face flushed red as he shouted, his voice full of fury. "But the shame of betraying your beliefs will never let you go, not for the rest of your lives. Someday, even if you attain the glory of a knight, the moment you turn a blind eye to injustice will haunt you forever." In the dim space, shadowy figures with fiery red eyes surrounded Rian. Rian's words seemed to touch the hearts of everyone. Rian gritted his teeth, his voice full of resentment. "I will be with you forever." Elzine's gaze was firm as she thought to herself, "For a knight, their creed." "It's their lives," Elzine added, her voice ringing with steel. Rian continued to shout loudly, his body covered in wounds, yelling, "Then let's end it here." Rian gasped for breath, struggling to get up, eyes blazing. "If you want to be able to be proud one day." Blood plastered Rian's face, and he gritted his teeth, roaring with fury. "Then fight, you fools!"